Thanks for staying with us. Today, we remember and honor the millions of Africans who were trafficked and enslaved over a century ago. For 400 years, enslaved Africans fought for their freedom, while colonial powers and others committed horrific crimes against them. But despite the abolishment of the transatlantic slave trade, the menace still occurs in the society. Inioluwa Popoola takes a look at the transition of how slavery moved from being in chains to being without.
These instruments you are looking at, the instruments they were used originally here. So anytime they hear the sound, it gives them nightmare. Slave trade was a universal phenomenon in the beginning. The Israelites were slaves in Egypt, but when it became based on the skin color, it affected the black race. From the Barakon in Badagry, the enslaved ancestors were taken to Berefu, also known as the point of no return, and they walk on the slave route, which is about 1.5 kilometers till they get to the seaside. And when they get to the seaside, they enter a boat, that's a small boat that takes them to the big ship that takes them away. The journey on the slave ship was also referred to as journey to unknown destination. At the time, there was a king called King Wawu who supported the abolition, so we should recognize African abolitionists. But today, the descendants of the enslaved ancestors they were taken to the Americas became very successful, and they are all returning back. Or most of them are returning back home to Africa to unite with their families.
Bound in chains, although not typically, more than 1.6 million Nigerians are still being held as slaves, from child and sex trafficking to child labor and forced marriages. Although transatlantic slave trade ended in the 1940s, it still continues to persist globally, now called modern-day slavery. As many Nigerians experience poverty and unemployment, many are thrown into the deep end of slavery. While some make it out, others are unfortunate. I asked some advocates on what the way forward is for Nigeria and how to abolish modern-day slavery.
Our daughters should be educated, and so we encourage also to send our children to school, get a better life for them, and at the end of the day, when they are matured, they can also get married.
So it is important that the government put in place measures to address the root causes of modern slavery. Factors such as poverty, like I mentioned, employment, gender discrimination, insecurity.
What we have to do is to ensure that we campaign, we sensitize the community members, ensure we consolidate on the effort of the international organizations like United Nations, UNICEF, etc., to ensure that we put an end to what we call modern form of slavery in all of its forms.
Former U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton said, and I quote, "Modern slavery, be it bonded labor, involuntary servitude, or sexual slavery, it is a crime and cannot be tolerated in any culture, community, or country. It is an affront to our values and our commitment to human rights." Inioluwa Popoola, TVC News, Lagos.